Police holding Paralympic athlete Oscar Pistorius over the death of his girlfriend Reeva Steenkamp have reportedly found a cricket bat covered in blood at his house. A newspaper says detectives are working on the theory that Reeva Steenkamp may have been assaulted with the bat before being shot 4 times. Jane Deeth reports.
Oscar Pistorius' lawyer and brother Carl went to see him today at the Pretoria police station where he spent the weekend. He also saw his sister Amy on the left and a preacher.
He was only crying. Since I come there, he was starting to cry. The colonel tell him that I come and pray with him.
It's been 4 days since Reeva Steenkamp was fatally shot at Oscar Pistorius' home. Police took away one of his guns. But a South African newspaper says it's been tipped off about another possible weapon.
What we've been able to put together from the people we spoke to is that there was a cricket bat inside Oscar Pistorius' bedroom that was covered in blood. It's being tested to see whose blood is on it. But a possible version that the police is looking at is that Mr. Pistorius may have indeed assaulted his girlfriend before shooting at her. This is supported by these injuries to her head.
The same sources apparently said the first shot was fired in the bedroom, the next 3 through the bathroom door. A friend has said Oscar Pistorius called him saying, "There's been a terrible accident. I've killed my baba." But in court, prosecutors told Oscar Pistorius he's looking at a charge of premeditated murder. He's yet to enter a plea, but did issue a statement denying murder. His family insisting the shooting was a mistake.
Being in love with love. It's just one love everywhere.
Last night, a reality show Reeva Steenkamp had filmed recently went out on national television. Her family didn't object, and the TV channel and fellow contestant Katlaho Molai defended putting it on air so soon after Reeva Steenkamp's death.
I don't see why we shouldn't screen it. It's what she would have wanted, and I think it would be silly not to, because then we're kind of depriving people of seeing who Reeva really was.
Reeva Steenkamp's father, Barry, has said he and his wife are inconsolable, but added there is no hatred in our hearts. The family is planning a private funeral for Reeva Steenkamp on Tuesday, the same day Oscar Pistorius will go to court to ask for bail, something police will oppose.
Well, just before we came on air, I spoke via the internet to Michael Sokolov in the United States. The New York Times writer spent 4 days with Oscar Pistorius before the London 2012 Games, and I asked him what he made of the latest allegations.
You know, some of it is probably true, but much of it is questionable. The first thing that came out was that neighbors heard something. I was in that house. It's a large house with thick walls that is not particularly close to any other house. So when you hear things like, well, neighbors heard something, you know, right away, to me, you're off on a start that I find questionable. This has nothing to do with Oscar's guilt or innocence or whether or not he's worthy of being defended. But I think that we have to be careful about the information we're hearing, because some or much of it is surely questionable.
You spent time with him, and your article describes a man who's a bit of a speed freak, you know, perhaps an adrenaline junkie, into guns, you know, into, you know, extreme sport.
Oscar, you know, is an action hero in his own action movie. He has got a very different constitution than nearly anyone I've ever met. And that is its own danger. You know, he's a man who is tightly coiled and on a hair trigger. And what I worried about after I met Oscar, and I liked Oscar very much, Oscar is magnetic, he's charismatic, but I worried about him hurting himself. It did not occur to me that he would hurt someone else, because I did not see malice in him.
What do you mean by hair trigger, and what evidence do you have for that?
Well, the days that I was with him, he said, last night I heard a sound in my house, and I came downstairs with a gun in my hand. And that's not the first time that he had done that.
Did his approach to, you know, intruders, having guns by his bedside, all of that seem completely normal and understandable to you, or a bit paranoid?
I don't know people here who are grabbing their guns all the time, but Oscar, I think, had a gun in his hand in his house more than anyone that I am certainly aware of in America. The
time the world was sort of shocked by Oscar Pistorius' personality was his flash of anger at the end of that controversial 200 metres race during the Paralympics. So it's hard to sort of see all sides of a person, isn't it, when they are on the public stage? It's very difficult. I spent 4 days with Oscar. There was a human side to Oscar. I mean, Oscar related to people, and it wasn't a show. I mean, that is Oscar. There is apparently another part of Oscar. It is either a part that fires unnecessarily out of fear, or that fires in malice, and we're going to find that out. New York Times writer Michael Sokolov.